What if I told you that Roman Reigns just delivered the most savage takedown in WWE history, and the cameras weren't even rolling? Picture this, August 18th, 2025, Philadelphia's Xfinity Mobile Arena. Raw has just gone off the air. The crowd should be heading home, but instead, they're glued to their seats, phones out, recording what's about to become the most viral wrestling moment of the year. Roman Reigns, the original tribal chief, grabs a microphone, locks eyes with Seth Rollins on the ramp, and delivers a line so brutal it exposes the biggest lie in WWE. "You, Seth, how's that knee? Still faking it?" The arena explodes. Social media crashes. And Seth Rollins' carefully crafted deception crumbles in real time. This wasn't just a mic drop. This was a declaration of war that's about to reshape the entire WWE landscape. Wrestling fam, welcome to WWE Report, where we dive deeper into the chaos than anyone else dares to go. What you're about to witness isn't just another wrestling segment. It's the moment that exposed the biggest con job in WWE history and reignited the most personal rivalry in sports entertainment. For months, Seth Rollins has been playing the sympathy card with a fake knee injury, fooling medical staff, fans, and even CM Punk himself. But Roman Reigns saw through the lies, and on August 18th, he didn't just call them out, he obliterated them in front of a live audience that couldn't believe what they were hearing. Today, we're breaking down every explosive detail, how Rollins' fake injury scheme worked, why Reigns' off-air moment was a calculated power move, the sneaker-stealing saga that's been building for weeks, and how this sets up the most anticipated showdown at Clash in Paris. From Jey Uso's brutal Extreme Rules victory to the psychological warfare that's tearing apart WWE's biggest factions, this story has layers that go deeper than a Roman Reigns spear. If you're ready to uncover the truth behind wrestling's biggest deception and see how one moment changed everything, smash that subscribe button and let's dive into the chaos. Let me take you back to the night that started it all, SummerSlam 2025, where Seth Rollins pulled off what wrestling historians are already calling the greatest con job in WWE history. But to understand the magnitude of this deception, we need to rewind even further to July 12th at Saturday night's main event, where Rollins' master plan began. Picture the scene, Atlanta's State Farm Arena, packed with 18,000 screaming fans watching Seth Rollins face LA Knight in what should have been a routine Money in the Bank holder showcase. Mid-match, Rollins attempts a high-risk moonsault, a move he's executed flawlessly hundreds of times. But this time, something goes wrong. He lands awkwardly, immediately clutching his knee and writhing in apparent agony. The referee stops the match instantly. WWE's medical team swarms the ring like it's a legitimate emergency. Rollins is carried out on a stretcher, cursing and selling the injury so convincingly that even veteran wrestling journalists believed it was real. Here's where it gets diabolical. Rollins had been planning this for weeks. Working secretly with Paul Heyman and even his real-life wife, Becky Lynch, he studied footage of his own legitimate 2015 knee injury, the one that tore his ACL, MCL, and meniscus, sidelining him for months. He memorized every detail, how he grabbed his knee, the exact facial expressions of pain, even the way he favored his leg while walking. This wasn't just method acting, this was psychological warfare at its finest. For weeks leading up to SummerSlam, Rollins played the part perfectly. He appeared on WWE programming with crutches, wearing a knee brace, limping convincingly during backstage segments. Medical staff genuinely believed he was injured. Adam Pearce questioned whether he should even be cleared to compete. The WWE Universe showered him with sympathy, with fans on social media sending get-well messages and praising his dedication for showing up despite being hurt. Then came SummerSlam Night 1. CM Punk had just defeated Gunther in an absolute classic, a 30-minute war that left both men battered and the crowd emotionally drained. Punk stood tall as the new World Heavyweight Champion, finally achieving his redemption story after years of controversy and setbacks. The moment felt perfect, complete, until Rollins' music hit. The crowd's reaction was initially one of confusion, then sympathy. Here was their wounded warrior, hobbling down the ramp on crutches, supposedly there to congratulate his friend CM Punk. The announcers sold it beautifully, talking about Rollins' heart and dedication. Even Punk seemed genuinely moved by the gesture, extending his hand in friendship. But then, in one fluid motion that will be replayed for decades, Rollins tossed aside his crutches like they were props in a high school play. He ripped off his knee brace with theatrical flair, revealing a perfectly healthy leg underneath. The briefcase came out, the referee was called, and within 90 seconds, a fresh Seth Rollins had stolen the World Heavyweight Championship with a single curb stomp to an exhausted CM Punk. The arena fell silent for a moment, that eerie quiet that only comes when 50,000 people realize they'd been completely fooled. Then the boos erupted like a volcanic explosion, shaking the very foundation of the building. Rollins had just executed the perfect heel turn, transforming from sympathetic babyface to the most hated man in WWE in the span of 2 minutes. Now here's where Roman Reigns enters the picture, and trust me, his involvement wasn't coincidental, it was calculated, personal, and absolutely devastating. To understand why Reigns' off-air moment hit so hard, you need to understand the psychology behind his return and the methodical way he's been dismantling his enemies one by one. Roman Reigns returned on July 14th with a singular focus: reclaim his position as the head of the table and exposed everyone who had wronged his family during his absence. But this wasn't the same Roman who left after WrestleMania 41. This was a man who had watched from the sidelines as Seth Rollins, Bronson Reed, and Braun Breaker systematically dismantled everything he had built. The betrayal cut deep, especially Rollins' role in his WrestleMania defeat, aided by Paul Heyman's shocking turn. What made Reigns' August 18th moment so powerful wasn't just what he said, it was when and how he said it. Think about the timing. Raw had just gone off the air. The cameras had stopped rolling. This was supposed to be the moment when wrestlers break character, when the show ends and reality begins. But Reigns chose this exact moment to deliver his most devastating blow, knowing that in the age of social media, every fan in that arena would become a broadcaster. The genius of Reigns' approach was in its simplicity. He didn't need a 20-minute promo or elaborate storytelling. 4 words, still faking it, contained more psychological warfare than most wrestlers manage in entire feuds. Those words accomplished multiple objectives simultaneously. They exposed Rollins' deception to a live audience, they undermined his credibility as champion, and they positioned Reigns as the truth-teller in a company built on carefully crafted lies. But let's talk about what happened before that microphone moment, because Reigns' actions throughout the night told a complete story of dominance and family loyalty. When Jey Uso was getting overwhelmed in that Extreme Rules match, facing a 3-on-1 assault from the Vision faction, Reigns didn't just make a save, he made a statement. His entrance through the crowd wasn't just dramatic, it was symbolic. He came from the people, through the people, like a conquering hero returning to reclaim his kingdom. The sequence of his actions was poetry in motion. First, the spirit of Braun Breaker that sent him crashing through the barricade with such force that security had to check if he was legitimately injured. Then, the Superman punch to Bronson Reed was so perfectly timed it looked like a choreographed dance of destruction. But the most important moment was when he retrieved his stolen Jordan sneakers from Reed's possession. Those sneakers weren't just footwear, they were symbols of respect, legacy, and the tribal chief status. For weeks, Reed had been taunting Reigns on social media, posting videos of himself wearing the stolen Jordans, calling himself the tribal thief. Each post was a calculated insult, designed to provoke Reigns into making a mistake. But instead of reacting emotionally, Reigns waited for the perfect moment to reclaim what was his, doing it in front of a live audience that could witness his dominance firsthand. The crowd's reaction told the entire story, 18,000 people chanting OTC, Original Tribal Chief, in unison, creating a wall of sound that could be heard blocks away from the arena. This wasn't just fan appreciation, it was validation that Reigns had successfully reclaimed his position as the alpha in WWE's hierarchy. The main event Extreme Rules match between Jey Uso and Bron Breakker wasn't just a wrestling match. It was a war that perfectly encapsulated everything wrong with WWE's current power structure and everything right about the original Bloodlines bond. What unfolded in that Philadelphia arena was 25 minutes of pure chaos that showcased why Jey Uso deserves to be mentioned among WWE's elite performers and why family loyalty still matters in a business built on betrayal. From the opening bell, Jey Uso channeled the spirit of ECW legends, coming to the ring with a shopping cart full of weapons that would make Mick Foley proud. But this wasn't just hardcore wrestling for the sake of violence. Every chair shot, every table spot, every high-risk maneuver told the story of a man fighting not just for victory, but for his family's honor. The Philadelphia crowd, known for their brutal honesty and deep wrestling knowledge, immediately recognized what they were witnessing: a main event caliber performer finally getting the spotlight he deserved. The match's psychology was perfect. Jey started as the aggressor, unloading chair shots on Breakker with the precision of a surgeon and the intensity of a man possessed. Each strike echoed through the Xfinity Mobile Arena like gunshots, punctuated by the crowd's ECW chants that gave the entire encounter an old-school, anything-goes atmosphere. When Jey speared Breakker through the barricade, the impact was so violent that pieces of the barrier scattered into the front row, causing security to briefly pause the action to ensure fan safety. But Bron Breakker proved why he's considered one of WWE's future main event stars. His counterattack was methodical and brutal, a Steiner line that turned Jey inside out, followed by a trashcan body press off the announce table that had announcers questioning whether both men would be able to continue. The visual of Jey's body crumpling under the impact, trashcan wrapped around his torso like twisted metal armor, was both horrifying and beautiful in its brutality. The turning point came when Jey reversed an Irish whip, sending Breakker face first into a steel chair wedged in the corner. The sound of skull meeting steel reverberated through the arena, followed by an eerie silence as Breakker crumpled to the mat. Jey's subsequent climb to the top rope felt like a moment of destiny. The Uso splash that followed was picture perfect, with Jey's body forming a perfect arc through the air before crashing down with devastating impact. But then the vision struck, and the match transformed from a one-on-one contest into a faction warfare showcase. Bronson Reed's interference wasn't just about helping his ally, it was about sending a message to the original bloodline that their time was over. When he yanked the referee from the ring, preventing Jey's certain victory, he was essentially declaring that fair play was dead in this new WWE landscape. LA Knight's arrival added another layer of complexity, as his beef with Seth Rollins created a temporary alliance with Jey. But when Rollins ambushed Knight with a kendo stick, the message was clear: the Vision would use any means necessary to maintain their stranglehold on power. CM Punk's involvement, driven by his desire for revenge against Rollins' SummerSlam betrayal, turned the ringside area into a war zone where alliances shifted by the second and survival depended on quick thinking and quicker reflexes. What happened after Raw went off the air on August 18th will be studied in wrestling schools for decades to come. This wasn't just a spontaneous moment of trash talk, it was a masterclass in psychological warfare that exposed the fundamental weakness in Seth Rollins' championship reign and repositioned Roman Reigns as the moral authority in WWE's increasingly corrupt landscape. The setting was perfect for maximum impact. 18,000 fans who had just witnessed an incredible night of wrestling, their energy still electric, their phones still recording. Raw's cameras had stopped rolling, creating that magical space between performance and reality where the most authentic moments in wrestling often occur. Seth Rollins stood on the entrance ramp, still selling his fake knee injury, probably thinking he had successfully navigated another night of maintaining his elaborate deception. Then Roman Reigns grabbed that microphone, and everything changed. "You, Seth, how's that knee? Still faking it? You fooled nobody but Punk." 12 words. 12 simple words that contained more explosive power than any finishing move in wrestling history. The crowd's reaction was instantaneous and deafening, a roar of approval that seemed to shake the very foundations of the Xfinity Mobile Arena. But more importantly, those words accomplished something that months of traditional wrestling storytelling had failed to achieve. They stripped away the carefully constructed facade and exposed the raw truth underneath. Watch Rollins' reaction in the fan-recorded videos that immediately flooded social media. For just a split second, his carefully maintained character breaks. You can see the genuine surprise, the flash of anger, the momentary panic of someone whose biggest secret has just been exposed in front of thousands of witnesses. He quickly recovers, clutching his knee and glaring back at Reigns, but the damage was done. The spell was broken. The genius of Reigns' approach was in its directness. In an industry built on elaborate storylines and complex character motivations, he chose the nuclear option: simple, undeniable truth. He didn't need to explain the intricacies of Rollins' deception or provide evidence of his claims. Everyone in that arena, and everyone watching the countless social media videos, already knew the truth. They had seen Rollins throw away his crutches at SummerSlam. They had witnessed the miraculous recovery that coincided perfectly with his championship opportunity. The crowd's chant of OTC, Original Tribal Chief, that followed wasn't just appreciation for a good line, it was validation of Reigns' position as the truth-teller in a company increasingly defined by deception and betrayal. In that moment, he reclaimed not just his stolen sneakers or his family's honor, but his role as the moral center of WWE's universe. Paul Heyman's presence on the ramp during this exchange added another layer of complexity to the moment. The man who had betrayed Reigns at WrestleMania 41, who had been instrumental in Rollins' rise to power, was forced to watch as his carefully laid plans began to unravel. His facial expression, a mixture of admiration for Reigns' boldness and concern for what this moment might mean for the Vision's future, told its own story. The immediate aftermath was chaos in the best possible way. Social media exploded with clips of the moment, hashtags like #TribalChiefTruth and #RollinsExposed trending worldwide within minutes. Wrestling journalists scrambled to analyze the implications, while fans debated whether this was a scripted moment or genuine off-the-cuff brilliance. The reverberations from Roman Reigns' off-air truth bomb are still shaking WWE's foundation, and nowhere will those shockwaves be felt more intensely than at Clash in Paris on August 31st, 2025. What we're witnessing isn't just a setup for a few matches, it's the complete restructuring of WWE's power dynamics, with the original Bloodline positioned to reclaim their throne through a series of strategically planned confrontations. Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed in a no-disqualification match isn't just about settling the sneaker-stealing saga, it's about Reigns making an example of anyone who dares disrespect the Tribal Chief's legacy. Reed's weeks-long campaign of social media taunts, flaunting those stolen Jordans like trophies of war, was never really about footwear. It was about testing Reigns' resolve, seeing if the returning Tribal Chief still had the killer instinct that made him WWE's most dominant champion. The no DQ stipulation ensures that Reigns can unleash the full extent of his fury without referee interference, and given his track record in hardcore environments, Reed might want to update his life insurance policy. The psychological aspect of this match cannot be overstated. Reed has positioned himself as the tribal thief, essentially claiming that he's stolen Reigns' identity along with his sneakers. But identity theft in wrestling is a dangerous game, especially when you're stealing from someone who built their entire persona around being the undisputed alpha. Expect Reigns to not just defeat Reed but to humiliate him in ways that will serve as a warning to anyone else considering challenging his authority. Meanwhile, Jey Uso's inclusion in the Fatal 4-Way for the World Heavyweight Championship represents something even more significant: the original Bloodline's return to main event relevance. His Extreme Rules victory over Braun Breaker, aided by Reigns' perfectly timed intervention, wasn't just a win, it was a statement that the Uso family belongs in championship conversations. Facing Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and LA Knight in Paris, Jey has the opportunity to capture the title that has eluded the Bloodline since Reigns' own championship reign ended. The dynamics of this Fatal 4-Way are fascinating from a storytelling perspective. CM Punk enters as the rightful champion, the man who was robbed by Rollins' deception at SummerSlam. His motivation is pure: reclaim what was stolen from him and expose Rollins as the fraud that Reigns already revealed him to be. LA Knight brings his own grudge against the Vision, having been repeatedly screwed over by their interference and manipulation. And then there's Jey Uso, representing not just his own ambitions but the honor of the entire original bloodline. Seth Rollins enters this match as the most vulnerable champion in recent memory. Reigns' off-air exposure has stripped away his psychological advantage, revealing him as a man whose entire championship reign is built on lies and deception. Every time he sells that fake knee injury, every time he reaches for that knee brace, the audience will remember Reigns' words, "Still faking it?" The crowd in Paris will be watching for any sign of the deception that got him the title in the first place. Looking beyond Clash in Paris, the implications are staggering. We're potentially looking at a complete power shift in WWE, with the original bloodline reclaiming their position at the top of the card while the Vision's carefully constructed empire crumbles under the weight of exposed lies and internal conflicts. Wrestling fam, what we witnessed on August 18th wasn't just another wrestling segment. It was a seismic shift that's going to reshape WWE for years to come. Roman Reigns didn't just mock Seth Rollins' fake injury, he exposed the fundamental corruption at the heart of WWE's current power structure and positioned himself as the truth-teller in a company built on carefully crafted lies. The original bloodline is back, stronger and more unified than ever. Jey Uso's Extreme Rules victory proved he belongs in main event conversations, while Reigns' reclamation of his stolen Jordans and his devastating off-air truth bomb re-established him as the undisputed alpha in WWE's hierarchy. The Vision's reign of deception is crumbling, and Clash in Paris is going to be the battleground where old scores are settled and new champions are crowned. But this is just the beginning. We're looking at a potential collision course toward WrestleMania 42, where Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins might finally settle their decade-long rivalry in the match that WWE has been building towards since the Shield's original breakup. The question isn't whether they'll face each other, it's whether Rollins will still be champion when that moment arrives, or if his house of lies will have completely collapsed by then. The sneaker saga is over, but the war for WWE's soul has just begun. Will the original bloodline reclaim their throne? Will Seth Rollins' deception finally catch up with him? Will CM Punk get his rightful championship back? Drop your predictions in the comments below, and let me know which moment from this chaos hit you the hardest. If this deep dive into wrestling's most explosive drama got your blood pumping, smash that like button, share this video with every wrestling fan you know, and subscribe to WWE Report for more insider analysis that goes deeper than anyone else dares to dig. Hit that notification bell because trust me, with Clash in Paris around the corner and WrestleMania season approaching, the chaos is just getting started. The tribal chief has spoken, the truth has been revealed, and the wrestling world will never be the same. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the madness, and I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue following every twist and turn of this incredible saga. Until then, keep watching, keep believing, and remember, in the world of professional wrestling, the truth always finds a way to surface, even when the cameras stop rolling.